let's take this conversation back, and it's a very auspicious time with the ASU strike and the university teachers. Of course, the secondary schools are not really essentially better. But in terms of what we should be spending on, what are the fault lines here? You've mentioned one of them. But again, do you think a way back into universities, for example, that pay more attention to faculties of banking and finance, faculty of economics, faculty of petroleum engineering, instead of faculty of maybe electronics engineering, and the likes? Because it looks like everybody wants to do banking and finance.
I mean, you see, we are much into saying I'm an accountant. I'm a doctor. Don't get me wrong, there are critical areas that we have to go into as well. But when somebody says, go and study, like...
Furniture and fitting.
Furniture and fitting. They'll look at you. What are you talking about? They look at it as... In England today, one of the highest earning profession there are plumbers. Okay? Plumbers, tilers in the construction company. Go look at them. When you make a call to them, before they come out to you, there's a charge for it. There's a call-out charge. And when they get there as well, they're going to charge you as well. And they charge per hour. So they know they can quantify their hours and everything.
And when they go to lunch, they also charge you.
Well, they decide when to go to lunch as well.
Yeah, anyway. So it's your money.
So it's your money.
You're paying.
Yeah, of course.
But if you look at the problem here, do you think what we're just talking about, is it more of from those of us who are parents, for example, everyone wants us to be lawyers, and we want our sons and daughters to be bank executives. So it looks like it's head scratchy to say, well, your son is studying banking and finance or in the law school. Mine is going to be a carpenter.
You put the blame...
My father was a carpenter, by the way. So let's just have the conversation.
Well, he must be successful to be able to send to school to be where you are today. If you look at it critically, it's not just the parent that you have to put the blames on. You have to put the blames on the government as well. And what do I mean by this? If they don't make these things attractive, nobody wants to go in there. Look at in recent times, this administration, they're focusing more on agriculture. You have a lot of graduates, regardless of what you study. Well, majority of them are agricultural or science students, but regardless, if you have interest in it and you want to go in there, they have funds available, they have trainings available, they have everything available for you to go in there and prosper. Now, why are people going in there? Because it's been made attractive for people to go in there. Now, if you're a parent and your child or your son or daughter says, I want to become a farmer, you'll be proud of that child because you know there's everything in there for this child to be able to prosper and become somebody, because it's what everybody is talking about. Now, if the government have plans for similar things like furnitures and fittings, plumbers and tilers, and make it attractive, it is not the way we look at it. I mean, decades ago, where we think they are just made for people who are irrelevant in society. It is actually what will prosper the economy.
Move this conversation. Let's move it a little bit back into the government space in terms of over the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Do you think the government hasn't really been doing more in terms of setting up industries and factories at states and federal level that will provide employment? Look at Ikeja Industrial Estate, for example, we use Lagos as an example, that had almost half dead of the companies that are there, whether they're Chinese or local.
You see, again, we're talking about political influence. If I belong to a political party and I know investing my money or my time into a certain area is not going to be beneficial to my party, I wouldn't have or show much interest, forgetting the fact that the entirety of the country is under my constituency, right? So people focus politically on areas that will benefit them politically. I've said it over and over again. You don't do that, and you don't want to do that because it kills a lot of businesses in an economy.
Industrialization will benefit everyone on the street. Even the political class, won't it?
Of course it will. I'm not going to mention names or whatever. I mean, you see some people going into what we call infrastructural development, okay? And they start a project in somewhere and they leave it half-dead, and they decide another project, a similar place in another place, and make sure it's effective and it's been completed. Now, what is the reason why you're leaving one half-dead and another one that you started afterwards completed? Now, if there's no reason politically for that, you wouldn't do that. So coming to talk about industrialization, the same thing happens. It's political class issue in here that needs to be addressed. Because it's not about who is for me. You're going to be there for 4 or 8 years maximum. You're going to live. Right? In the future, what people are going to say about you. So what I'm trying to say here is, when you want to set up a policy, make sure it's universal, not just segmental.
We need to spend money to create jobs. What should we be doing?
Let me start from where there's a program I've been developing for the past 5 years, which is actually at a near completed stage now. I've spoken quite a lot about what I call apprenticeship scheme. You see, you can't spend money to generate jobs without having the fundamental basis for it. And if you start a project, there should be a long-time project that you know, okay, if I get to this level in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years' time, it will still be functional. Now, when our people in here, we're talking about, I run a human capital development firm here in Nigeria and the UK as well. And here, I can tell you I have large number, people keep talking about unemployment. There are a lot of jobs on the table that people can't fill, that we can't fill because we have unskilled people, okay? Now, my idea is this: when the government looks into apprenticeship scheme whereby you begin to bring the awareness into all institutions and make sure that all these graduates are actually going into a system whereby they begin to learn and train, then obviously when you create jobs, when you create factories, you have people that have skill to work in it because they've been groomed by entrepreneurs who they worked under.
Well, we got a lot to look about the apprenticeship story. Yeah. But let's talk about that some other day, shall we?
We should.
My apologies for hanging in there. The clock is ticking.
It is.
Thank you. Michael Adeleye, who is a management development consultant and expert here on the issue of unemployment. Let's take a break. We'll be right back, and we'll go back to the marketplace.